This question, can Yahweh create a rock so heavy he cannot lift, is one that I have seen asked by many, or well, several atheists. And I don't know, but I don't find that much sense in it really, because they're talking from a completely material um reality, meaning the question is material, for it's talking about weight, it's talking about matter. A rock that is heavy, weight, those two things only are created in this reality. They only exist in this reality. So they have nothing to do with the spiritual reality. So a person that gets stuck in that question pretty much is because cannot make or see the difference between the spirit and the material. Um, Now, let's say like they're mixed, as I guess they think, and that's why they make this question. And what I have seen is that they actually think that this is a question that fits the whole idea of a creator, an almighty creator. Yet I repeat, it is because it is asked from the standpoint of somebody who is natural or material. Then another question that perhaps could make more of a, well, that it would be or seem deeper perhaps for many, is part of what we find in a book or letter I have mentioned several times before, called the letter of Ptolemy to Flora, in which he explains how the Torah has three layers, or the 613 commandments can be separated in three: those of Yahweh, those of Moshe, and those of the fathers, or those of the priests or men. So um, through the book, we see something that is very interesting to think about, and one can see it from 2 points of view. Once again, I repeat, either from the point of view of the Almighty or the point of view of humans, because if Yahweh is almighty, meaning he can, well, he has the power to do all things. Some have argued that Lucifer or Satan would be actually the one, and I repeat, hopefully nobody will misinterpret what I'm saying. This is the opinion of some and the way they explain it. And it is a valid way when you actually pay attention and then think deeply about what scripture says and what Yahweh is. Um, some believe that Satan, or Lucifer in this case, because remember there are three Satans, Lucifer will be the second, and he is the one who uses the law to accuse. So he, claiming to want perfection, wants to destroy any idea of free will or um, error, as we can see all over the place in this reality. So we know Yahweh is good. From that point of view, if Yahweh is good, is because he cannot do any evil. So if he cannot do any evil, that would mean he cannot do all things. That would be Satan, because he chooses to do evil, even though when he was created, he began doing right. So they claim that since Satan started doing right and then decided to do evil and was able to do both, that he is almighty, and then that the creator Yahweh is not, because he cannot do any evil. Now, that is the point of view of pretty much a human who is material and can only see or talk from the point of view of the flesh, which is in this reality of sin and experiences darkness as a reality, when in reality it is just an illusion, for it is the lack of light. So, in other words, Yahweh is all there is, and good is all that really exists. Yahweh made the by taking away his light, he created the possibility for darkness, which is what we know as evil. That's why we see in the book of Isaiah that he forms the light and creates darkness. He makes peace and war. So people would look at that, some, and would say, you see that he is evil because he creates war, because he creates darkness. But as the verse says, he forms the light, creates darkness. So that means that light has always been, is what really exists, and darkness was a simple creation that will be destroyed eventually when light covers the whole reality. So Yahweh, through his action of contracting the light, created the possibility for evil to exist. Some would say that that was him being evil. Is not. It was necessary for evil to exist during this reality for the whole plan to work as it is supposed to. So just like Yahweh did not allow us or did not put us in this world of death, but he put us one reality before so that we would choose enter this reality through eating the fruit of knowledge. So Yahweh gave us free will for us to choose if we wanted to enter this reality, if we wanted darkness, or pretty much to know darkness. And that is why Yahweh allowed darkness to exist by him taking away the light. So what I was just saying and comparing it to this question is pretty much because it can be seen as a paradox, this question and that idea of the word almighty, because it depends. If you believe that doing evil is having power, then the person will be twisted in the head, because that is not power. That is just free will. Yahweh allowing the person to do something different than what he wants, or what he desires, or what he advises for our good. So if we look at what I was saying from the point of view of eternity, of light, then of course Yahweh is the only who can do all things. But if we're going to take a point of view of evil being a true reality, then Yahweh cannot do evil. He doesn't, like we know the verse about if we are unfaithful, he remains faithful because he cannot deny himself. He is faithfulness. So since he is faithfulness, he cannot be unfaithful. So some would say, you see, he cannot do something, but that something is actually evil. So is a lack of good. So Yahweh does not lack any good. He is all goodness. So I hope that is being understood when it comes to this. As I was saying, the idea of light and darkness, seeing darkness as something that is eternal, is what makes the issue of thinking that Lucifer would be almighty, thinking that that is might to do evil, which is not, like I already explained. Here, instead of light and darkness, the idea would be with spirit and matter. Because Yahweh is not a man, nor a son of man. It is written in Numbers to lie or to repent. So how could he, for instance, lift, like if we think about, I repeat, matter, because they are thinking in a way of him coming down and lifting a rock. And once again, I repeat, it is all a paradox, because if he creates a rock that he cannot lift, that would be him being able to create something, which is what they want, that doesn't allow him to do something, which is just not right, is actually a stupid idea. Because I repeat, that would be taking himself, taking power from himself, and he is all power. And that is pretty much what Satan is trying to do, become another power, become the rock that's according to his will, the enemy's will, a rock that the Almighty won't be able to lift. So, but on the other hand, if somebody says that he can lift anything that he creates, then that means he cannot create a rock. So that makes him not able to do so. But once again, it is just, I believe, a paradox, good paradox, but dumb when it comes to the spirit, because it is talking about matter. Both a rock and heaviness are something that has to do with this reality, but like we know in Hebrew, it is a concrete language. So, for instance, rock is used to understand foundation, to understand Mashiach, and heaviness to understand his presence, his honor. In other words, it is like saying, because of the idea of the paradox, is kind of no way out. But the rock would be Mashiach, and his honor, how heavy. But everything that Mashiach has comes from the Father. So I repeat, this paradox kind of points to the enemy, because it is a saying that Yahweh would be able to create an angel which he couldn't defeat, make a rock that is too heavy, and that is just impossible, because he can just uncreate the rock, for instance, and that would be instantly lifted from wherever it was tending. So Yahweh has the power to do all things that have a purpose and therefore are good. Anything that doesn't have a purpose is not good, is of darkness, and really makes no sense. So I repeat, this is like kind of saying, if if the Almighty would be able to make an angel which would be too strong for him. And there are many ways in which I believe that is just dumb, and it is an idea of the flesh. But I understand, because of the paradox that it creates, these words, I can understand making a mess in the head when you think about it. But mostly for humans who have to lift things. um, let's see, what else can I say? And once again, Yahushua is the rock. He is our strength. We can do all things through Mashiach who strengthens us. He's the strong, mighty rock. And the only one who was able to raise him up was Yahweh. So there you go. Nobody can lift Yahushua, only Yahweh. And let me see what else. I know it's used in theology schools to go in circles. Yep. Well, just in case I wasn't very clear about the verse is from Isaiah 45. And it says that he forms the light and creates darkness, which is different. For that which is receives a form was there already. So that means the light is eternal. But if you say create, that means it wasn't there before, so it is a creation, and that means that it can be destroyed. So just like they say that energy is not destroyed, it only changes, that would be light. It is eternal. It just receives form, that form which Yahweh wants to give it. While on the other hand, darkness was a creation, so it can be destroyed, and it will be. So in Isaiah 45:7, it says, forming light and creating darkness, making peace and creating evil. I, Yahweh, do all these. So I repeat, this is a very important verse because most people would read this verse and get very confused and even deny the Almighty for not understanding what is being said, because they would say also all evil comes from him. He made evil, not understanding that the way he's saying it is pretty much assuring us that he will destroy it. And also giving us understanding that there is no different power that fights the Almighty. Satan doesn't fight the Almighty. Satan fights us. He is our obstacle. He is the enemy of humanity, not the enemy of Yahweh. Even if that is what a lot of people think. I was actually seeing something earlier, which it was a TV show that has to do with demons and possession and all of that. So there was a Catholic priest speaking, and he was talking about Satan, and he said that he was timeless, just like as they speak God. And I was like, what? Like, obviously, that is part of the enemy, what the enemy does through TV, teaching lies to everybody. Yet people look at that and they actually think that the show is telling them the truth, that the show took it from the scriptures or something like that. So it was amazing because they would place in Satan, well, in this case, Satan and God, as you guys know, God is fortune and that is Lucifer, according to Isaiah 65 and other parts of scriptures. So therefore, putting them, Satan and God, in the same level kind of fits. But saying that Satan is timeless, that is completely wrong because he's a creation. So he had a beginning. Therefore, he's not timeless because timeless would be eternal. And the only one who is eternal is the creator, Yahweh. So the fact that the verse says forming light and creating darkness, making peace and creating evil should give us actually shalom, peace, because that means that evil cannot do anything against us unless Yahweh allows it. And if Yahweh allows it, is because we need it as a punishment to understand something and grow to for whatever reason, because we know because of Romans 8:28 that all things are for the good of those who love Yahweh. So if we love him, then if something bad happens, we know that it is not out of his control. He is seeing everything that is happening, allowing it, and in control of it so that it doesn't destroy us. So the fact that he is the one saying this and not saying, and I, for instance, I form light and then there's that Satan creating evil, that would be like, that's out of my control. I cannot do anything about that. Sorry about that, angel. That's the rock I couldn't lift. But he's saying, I form the light, I create the darkness. So darkness thinks that has power, but why? Because it has no light, it has no understanding. So darkness may believe that it can do something, that it can accomplish something, but that is part of being in darkness, not knowing what you're doing, saying, thinking, etc. So like a friend, well, soldier was telling me yesterday how he was thinking about how dumb it is for people to sell their souls and get money and fame and all of that. And he was saying, like, don't they like stop to think that Satan is the same from the scriptures, the one who will be in the lake of fire eventually with all of them. And like I was saying, I'm sure they do, but they were convinced, and because they are in darkness, they actually believe that what they call the Bible is just a book written by a bunch of people saying the point of view of the Almighty. So they claim, like, in every story, there are two sides, at least. So they're like, okay, the Bible is his side of the story, but they believe Lucifer has his own side of the story in which he wins because that's what he tells them. So they're like, they choose Lucifer's opinion, which is the dumbest thing you can do. But that is because they believe that Lucifer is an enemy with equal power, only opposite, because they don't understand this verse, for instance. So they actually think that they might win at the end. Some think that the Almighty will give them the earth and take the righteous somewhere else, or that the Almighty will give them like their own reality eventually. So they have different ideas depending on who you listen to. Freemasons who believe in a heaven, they believe that there's a lodge, a Masonic lodge in the heaven that where they go when they die. So they have those beliefs, even though they're doing pure evil in the world, because they are convinced that that evil is for the good of humanity. In many instances, there are a lot who actually do evil because they love it, of course, and they're completely possessed. But there are a lot of people who may still be possessed, not as much, and are evil because the way they think, they are psychopaths and all of that, for sure. But they actually convince themselves, because of the deceitful heart, that they are doing the best for humanity by killing half of it, for instance. So yeah, those things are crazy and are out of our, thankfully, like, we cannot comprehend those ideas because we are in the light, thankfully, for uh, Yahweh who gave us Yahushua. So that was the verse. I hope that was clear. You know how obviously Mashiach said that if you have faith, like a mustard seed, you can tell a mountain to move and it will move. And a mountain could be a huge rock that no man can lift. So Mashiach was saying through faith, you can lift all things in a way, but faith, which is spiritual. So that is what makes the difference. Faith and matter do not go together. And if we put them together, faith will always win against matter because it will move the mountain. And when I say that we cannot put them together, I mean there are two different worlds that through Mashiach are getting mixed, because Yahushua came and said that the kingdom was already here. It just couldn't be seen. So the spiritual reality is already here. It only needs to be, in a way, mixed with this reality so it can be seen, because this reality is the one that is seen with our eyes. This reality is the reality of images. The spiritual is invisible. So once we mix the two, the will of the Father will be done in heaven. I mean, in heaven, the will of the Father will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we are about to see the spiritual reality taking form during the millennium, and even to a greater extent after the millennium, when we enter eternity in the New Jerusalem and all of that. So if we only speak in material matters, like like the one who made that question for the first time was thinking a rock, heavy, all about matter in every sense, all about this reality. So if we take away faith from the equation, then we can say that he can do that, because I'm sure Mashiach, when he came, since he came as a man and he is the first manifestation of Yahweh, it was Yahweh himself. And there were rocks that I'm sure he couldn't lift because he was a man while he was on earth. He could lift them with faith. but that is something that the person that made that question did not take into account, for it is something of a different reality, which is completely far away from his reality. So that was um, like my point. In other words, pretty much, if we take away the spirit, which they cannot understand, then we can say, since he can do all things, he can do even that, because when Mashiach came, I'm sure he couldn't lift with his physical strength a mountain, but he could do it with faith. So I hope that was also understood, because it's another way of seeing how that idea of mixing matter and spirit kind of do not go unless we put Mashiach in the middle. So, and that's why he's the intercessor and the door and the image and a bunch of other things and the truth.